This is one of the most disturbing things I've seen all week, probably since Signalgate. You know, some would argue that the sign of a failing nation would be a decrease in population growth, or a slowing economy, or a war that you can't recover from. But I would say a failing nation is marked by allowing a pro-Russia beanie boy into the White House press room. That's right, Tim Pool asked the first question to Caroline Leavitt, and honestly, it was humiliating. He humiliated himself, not only by the way he dressed. This dude is dressed in a beanie with a sweatshirt on, and Caroline Leavitt is rightfully dressed like a North Korean propagandist with her buttons. I mean, that's about fair. I want to play you this clip in 1 second, but let me remind you, Tim Pool was paid $500,000 a month by Russia, and then he subsequently would say he hates Ukraine. Ukraine is the enemy of America. He leans more pro-Russia. Now, he claims he didn't know he was being paid by Russia, but that's almost even worse. That means he just happened to stumble on the pro-Putin position. Right here, there's a short that says, Zelensky refused to wear a suit when meeting Trump. And he's straight up pro-Russia. This says, influencer paid by Russia added to White House press pool. And if this is not the sign of a failing, declining nation, I don't know what is. Screw slowing population growth or slowing birth rates. Having a beanie boy in the White House room, that's it. That pushes me over the line. Tim Pool is one of several conservative social media stars who says he was duped into taking Russian money during the election. But how do you get duped to take $500,000 a month and then just happen to be pro-Russia? I'm really not buying it. Let's watch this clip of Tim Pool getting the first question. He got right to the first question in the White House press room. I guess this is a good time to say, MAGA was largely able to consolidate power due to their thriving media space, but their growth is slowing down, and the resistance that we're building is speeding up. The Adam Mockler channel is beating Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, but we're not beating Fox News or Tim Pool. So if you want to help me beat Tim Pool, make sure you scroll down and make sure you click that subscribe button. Let's start here.
Yes.
Yes. Why did he answer it like that? Yes.
Yes. Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax.
Please do not tell me Tim Pool is going to imply that other news organizations have been irresponsible or biased in some way when he was literally paid by Russia. I mean, the DOJ had to come out and list him, or I guess he was unnamed in the indictment, but dude, you were in the indictment. You were being paid $500,000 a month, and they listed his exact subscriber count of his YouTube channel. I mean, it's him. He even admits it. He claims that he just didn't know he was being paid. So on top of that, he's going to say that other journalists are unbiased. And then he's going to go on to imply that the Maryland father is actually an MS-13 member with zero evidence.
Where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by two different judges.
He was not adjudicated by two different judges. This was a bond trial where a secondary question was whether he was a part of MS-13, and their evidence was based off of double hearsay.
Is just simply being referred to as a Maryland man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on, following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters.
Oh no, disparage in a free country? That shouldn't be allowed. Come on, Tim.
I'm wondering if you can comment on the unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room, which is one of the reasons we have you in here, and there's many new faces in this room in comparison.
A diversity of viewpoints as long as you're past a certain threshold of MAGA.
Comparison to the previous administrations.
Because they did ban the AP, so the AP's viewpoint was not allowed.
I want to welcome all viewpoints into this room.
Except the AP.
We welcome unbiased journalists who really care about the truth and the facts and the accuracy, and you rightfully pointed out the Maryland Man story, which I, from this podium, when The Atlantic published it on that very first day.
I don't even want to platform this BS. She says in one breath that they want unbiased journalists in the room, then in the next breath she builds off with a story that a biased journalist just gave her as a layup. Tim Pool was clearly giving her an alley-oop to talk about Abrego Garcia, and now she's saying that he's incredibly unbiased. Let's watch this clip.
Before the United States Senate. Let me reiterate, the president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth in the change that he is bringing to the Pentagon, and the results that he's achieved thus far speak for themselves.
They say that like it's a good thing. Like Trump standing firmly behind Pete Hegseth while he puts our military members, our service members, the American population at risk. They're saying that like it's a good thing. A disgusting twist of events. Let's watch this clip.
I have two questions, one on the Pentagon and another on the economy. You said on Fox News that the entire Pentagon is working against Secretary Hegseth, but the people who were fired were Hegseth's own guys. So how do you square that, and what do you say to concerns that that's bad management?
They were Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss to news agencies in this room. And it's been clear since day one from this administration that we are not going to tolerate individuals who leak to the mainstream media.
This is not true. None of this is true, by the way. Pete Hegseth had these trusted advisors for over a decade. 2 out of 3 of them worked for over a decade with Hegseth, and then he fired all 3 of them abruptly. And the prevailing theory right now is that these 3 got a call from the New York Times because, you know, the Times, any publication has to reach out and ask for a comment. So when they were reached out to, they realized this is way too far. They come to Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth immediately fires them because they're not going to be silent about this. So this is a crazy spin because Pete Hegseth is known to smear people on his way out. I'm sorry, but I'm going to trust the 3 advisors and John Oliot, the spokesperson, over Drunken Pete any day of the week.
Particularly when it comes to sensitive information. And the Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job. And he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And
This is like North Korean propaganda.
There's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change. And I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense since the moment.
Nobody rejects monumental change. You think the Democratic Party, which is currently rallying around AOC and Bernie Sanders, is trying to reject monumental change? No, we just don't want regressive change. We want change in the right direction. We want a future where we can build towards healthcare, where veterans have a hotline they can call. These are very, very simple things. But Caroline Leavitt and even Tim Pool, mainly Tim Pool, they live in this weird reality of deflection all of the time. So when we say that we want due process, we want people's constitutional rights to be upheld, they go, you guys love criminals. You love MS-13 gang members. Nobody has ever said that. When we say you shouldn't be firing veterans en masse, you shouldn't be firing nuclear stockpile workers, the way Elon Musk is doing this is way too far, they say you reject monumental change, even though the Republican Party, the conservatives inherently want to conserve what was. And you know, these 2 people on screen right here, Caroline Leavitt and Tim Pool, they are eroding the brains. They are dissolving the brains of American citizens, therefore eroding our institutions, and we need to continue to push back relentlessly. We do that by building a meaner, leaner, faster, more robust, a stronger media ecosystem on the left so that we are able to debate them, to fight back. When a Pete Hegseth story breaks, inevitably, the 3rd version of Signalgate, we are able to inject it into the feeds of Americans before Trump's propaganda is. And that's what we've been doing every day. So thank you guys. We have built something beautiful here because of you. So make sure you drop a like, subscribe. Let's continue to build, and we will regain power. Peace out.